Hello dear friends, welcome to Gallant IAS. So this is our most potential questions for Indian economy for Prelims 2020. So today we are going to discuss about the multidimensional poverty index. So before looking at what it is, let us look at a potential question. So as you know, UPSC has a tendency of asking about indexes and the organizations which have published these indexes. So please take note of this point. Who publishes the multidimensional poverty index? And there are four options. So let us look at what multidimensional index is all about. So what exactly is multidimensional poverty? MPI or multidimensional poverty index. So usually we talk about poverty in a unidimensional manner. That is, we consider only the income. What is the income of an individual? If an individual is below such level of income, we call them poor. On the other hand, multidimensional poverty has or measures or takes into consideration a lot of dimensions of poverty. That is, whether they have access to basic facilities like health, education, what is their standard of living. So that is what multidimensional poverty is all about. So the Multidimensional Poverty Index 2020 was released by or is released in partnership with the United Nations Development Programs, HDRO, Human Development Report Office, plus the Oxford Poverty and Human Development Initiative. Okay, so there are two organizations involved, the United Nations Development Programs, that is UNDP's Human Development Report Office, and the Oxford Poverty and Human Development Initiative. So please take note of this point, there are two organizations involved. So the global MPI compares acute multidimensional poverty for 107 countries in developing regions. So this is another important point. It looks at developing regions. Okay, 107 countries in developing regions. So according to these countries are home to about over 5 billion people, and it involves 3/4 of entire world population. Of these 1.3 billion people, that is 22%, are identified as multidimensionally poor by this year's global MPI. So the global MPI provides us a detailed image or detailed discussion on who is poor and how they are poor. What is it that they are lacking? What is their lack of access? So MPI looks at three key dimensions, that is health, education and standard of living. They might ask like this, which are the dimensions that MPI looks at? So the answer is health, education and standard of living. And within this there are 10 indicators. So people who experience deprivation in a minimum of 1/3 of these weighted indicators fall under the category of multidimensionally poor. So what is included in the multidimensional poverty index? As we already said, they look at three dimensions: health, education, standard of living. And within health, they look at nutrition and child mortality. Regarding education, the indicators looked at are years of schooling and school attendance. So the third dimension is living standard. It involves cooking fuel, sanitation, water, electricity, floor and assets. So have a clear idea about the dimensions of poverty and also the indicators they are looking at: health, education and living standard. Now let's look at the result. What is the global scenario? As I already said, 1.3 billion people are living in multidimensional poverty, and more than 80% are deprived in at least 5 of the 10 indicators MPI used to measure MPI. Another important point, a very disturbing point probably, is that children show higher rates of multidimensional poverty. Half of multidimensionally poor people are children. It represents a very bleak outlook for the future. 1 in 3 children is poor compared to 1 in 6 adults. Now 65 out of 75 countries significantly reduced their multidimensional poverty levels between 2000 and 2019. That is a very positive thing. About 84% of multidimensionally poor people live in Sub-Saharan Africa and South Asia. Okay, so majority of multidimensionally poor are in Sub-Saharan Africa and South Asia. Now 67% of multidimensionally poor people live in middle income countries. Okay, so this is a figure representing what I already said. Also, there's one more thing to be noted from here, that is In rural areas, the multidimensional poverty is way higher than in the urban areas. The larger circle represents that of the rural areas. So let's look at the Sustainable Development Goals that link to the Global Multidimensional Poverty Index. They are: first one, no poverty; 2, zero hunger; 3, good health and well-being; 4, quality education; 6, clean water and sanitation; 7, affordable and clean energy; and 11, sustainable cities and communities. See, these are the SDG goals that are linked with the MPI index. So let's look at the Indian scenario. 4 countries have halved their MPI value, and India has shown a very impressive performance. India has lifted 270 million people out of multidimensional poverty between the period of 2005-6 and 2015-16. India has lifted 270 million people out of multidimensional poverty. And also 10 countries including China have come close to halving their MPI value. Also, there is one more point to be noted in the performance of India. India has successfully reduced poverty, and along with that there has been a significant reduction in the number of children under multidimensional poverty. Now, one more thing to be noted is that there is a negative correlation between incidence of multidimensional poverty and vaccination programs. Okay. Now, the issue here is that, as we know, we are facing a big crisis. Corona crisis is happening all over the world, and there is a challenge that the progress that have been achieved till now in the front of multidimensional poverty might take a setback in view of the existing crisis. So let's go back to our question. Who publishes the multidimensional poverty index? It is a very simple question. So the first option, Human Development Report Office, UNDP HDRO, and Oxford Poverty and Human Development Initiative. You can remember this easily as there are 2 institutions or 2 organizations involved. The first one is UNDP HDRO and Oxford Poverty and Human Development Initiative. So the first option itself is correct, but don't conclude in the beginning itself. Please read all the other options. B is World Bank, C UNCTAD, and D World Food Program. So don't get confused. It is Human Development Report Office of the UNDP plus the Oxford Poverty and Human Development Initiative. So that's it. Thank you.